time playing this. So let's go to the villain. The villain is zakirnaik. That is the villain, right? And most popular among all of them. So zakirnaik is the villain. So let's go to the villain. That is zakirnaik, right?
So my request to all the Muslim brothers and sisters, you go back to the Quran. Study the Quran. Quran is the most positive book in the world. It's a proclamation to humanity. It's a fountain of mercy and wisdom. It's a warning to the heedless. It's a guide to the erring. It's an assurance to those in doubt. It's a solace to the suffering and a hope to those in despair. You can get all these benefits only if you read the Quran with understanding. If you don't know Arabic, read the translation of the Quran in the language you understand the best. Implement it, inshallah. It will be a guidance for you for your full life, and you'll see your life change. Hope that answers the question.
So the boss of all the mushriks, you heard what he said, right? I repeat it again.
So my request to all the Muslim brothers and sisters, you go back to the Quran.
His request to all the Muslim brothers and sisters is go back to the Quran. He didn't say Quran and Sunnah. He didn't say Quran and Hadith. No. His advice is go back to the Quran. These are your scholars, the mainstream. He's telling you, go back to the Quran. But all of a sudden, after I finish this video, you see the mushriks insulting me, typing insulting me again, because I'm exposing their own scholars with their own words, right? Okay, so listen.
Read the Quran. Quran is the most positive book in the world.
He gave him the highest level of rank. The Quran is the most positive book in the world, but yet you leave this most positive book to follow garbage books. Okay.
It's a proclamation to humanity.
It's a proclamation to humanity, which is a declaration to humanity. Proclamation to humanity. Not the Hadith books. No.
It's a fountain of mercy and wisdom.
It is a fountain of mercy and wisdom. A fountain. You already know fountain. What you are getting from it is uncountable.
It's a warning to the heedless.
It is a warning to the heedless. If you're a heedless person, the Quran is a warning to you.
It's a guide to the erring.
It is the guide to the erring. If you are erring, the Quran will fix you. That is why it's a guidance for mankind. It will fix you. When you err, the Quran is to straighten you.
It's an assurance to those in doubt.
It is an assurance to those in doubt. If you doubt, the Quran will eliminate your doubt out. So you never made a wrong choice when you chose to uphold the Quran. It is not a wrong choice, right?
It's a solace to the suffering and the hope to those in despair. You can get all these benefits only if you read the Quran with understanding.
You can get all these benefits only if you read the Quran with understanding. He didn't say if you read the Quran with hadith, if you read the Quran with our opinions, if you read the Quran with our tafsirs, if you read the Quran with understanding. So you read the Quran, you get the understanding thereof in the book.
If you don't know Arabic, read the translation of the Quran in the language you understand the best.
Simple. This is one of the best advices. If you cannot read Arabic, read the Quran in the language you understand. Yes. The Quran is a book for mankind. Don't let anybody tell you cannot understand the Quran in English or in Hausa or in Chinese or in Mandarin. Or don't let anybody tell you that. Wallahi lazim.
Implement it, inshallah. It will be a guidance for you for your full life, and you'll see your life change.
You see, this is based on the Quran. Did you hear him say hadith or sunnah? It will be a guidance for you for life, and you see your life changed. So now finally our lives are changed. We said the Quran is enough. You guys hate us still again. ZAKIR has a video against Quran alone.
Tell you, brother, it's not a must that everything should be mentioned in the Quran. Even if it's mentioned in Hadith, it's sufficient. I know there are some Muslims who say, no, we only follow Quran. This is totally wrong. Allah clearly mentioned in the Quran, Atirullah wa atir Rasul. Obey Allah and obey the Messenger. So everything is not mentioned in the Quran. If you go to the Hadith, there are several Hadith which talk that you should pray Friday. There's umpteen number of Hadith.
Okay, you heard ZAKIR. This is what he just said concerning Hadith, right? And the Quran. So now, as I usually do, I'm going to play the video again. Then we are going to cross-check him. Right? I'm going to cross-check him now. The same video. Listen to the statement, because I want you to listen carefully when you are listening to the top scholars, the clerics. This is what we call scholars today, right? So listen carefully.
And let me tell you, brother, it's not a must that everything should be mentioned in the Quran.
He says, let me tell you, brother, it is not a must that everything should be mentioned in the Quran. He made this statement because there's a reason why he said that. And the reason is in the following. He is going to make the reason.
Even if it's mentioned in Hadith, it's sufficient.
Even if that thing which is not a must to be mentioned in the Quran, even if it is mentioned in the Hadith, that is sufficient. Meaning, the Quran is not sufficient, according to ZAKIR. It is not a must for it to be mentioned in the Quran, but even if it is mentioned in the Hadith, it is sufficient. Which means, if it is, since it's not in the Quran, it's not sufficient. This is the logic these scholars are telling you. The same scholars last week, I played the video, they will tell you the Quran is sufficient for guidance. The Quran is enough for guidance. The same scholars today are telling you it is not sufficient. The Quran alone is not sufficient. You have to add the garbage books before it becomes sufficient. So which of the garbage books? Sahih Muslim? Sahih Bukhari? Which one? Jamia Tirmizi? Which one should we take to be sufficient? Okay.
I know there are some Muslims who say, no, we only follow Quran. This is totally wrong.
He says, I know there are some Muslims who say we only follow the Quran. And ZAKIR says, this is totally wrong. He didn't say this is wrong. Listen to the English very well. ZAKIR never said this is wrong. He says this is totally wrong. Meaning zero. Cancelled. This is what he said. Totally wrong. Really? Whose judgment is this? Whose judgment? Listen.
Allah clearly mentioned in the Quran, Atirullah wa atir Rasul.
You see how they quote verses and they leave it hanging. Allah says in the Quran, Atiullah wa atir Rasul. Which chapter? Which verse? Oh, which context? Oh, where can we find such a verse? Oh, Allah says, Atiullah, atir Rasul. So, what is ZAKIR going to tell us concerning that verse? Listen.
Obey Allah and obey the Messenger.
Obey Allah and obey the Messenger. So, Allah is the Quran. Messenger is the what? Hadith? Let's listen.
So, everything is not mentioned in the Quran.
What does that mean? You just quoted a verse. You say, obey Allah and obey the Messenger. Then he says, so everything is not mentioned in the Quran. What are you trying to tell us? Did we say everything is mentioned in the Quran? We only said everything concerning our religion, Islam, is mentioned in the Quran. Yes, everything concerning Islam is mentioned in the Quran. Al-yawma akmaltu lakum dinakum wa atmamtu alaykum nimati wa raditu lakum al-islam ad-dina. Quran chapter 5 verse 3. This day I have completed your religion for you, and I have completed my blessing upon you, and I have approved Islam as a religion for you. God completed the deen. And in the Quran, God chapter 6 verse 115, he says, وَتَمَّتْ كَلِمَةُ رَبِّكَ صِدْقًا وَعَدْلًا لَا مُبَدِّلَ لِكَلِمَاتِهِ وَهُوَ السَّمِيعُ الْعَلِيمُ. The word of your Lord is complete in truth and justice. There is no alteration to his words. Yes. So if he has completed the religion and he has completed his words to the prophet, what else do you need? The religion is complete. So when he says obey God and obey the messenger, you find the words of God in the Quran, you find the words of the Rasul in the Quran. You are a fool to think Rasul is speaking to you from a garbage book. Yes, when I mean a garbage book, it means a worthless message. Check the meaning of garbage. It's worthless, because if the Quran is sufficient, what do I need the garbage for? That's why it's garbage. Listen to ZAKIR.
If you go to the Hadith, there are several Hadith which talk that you should pray Friday.
If you go to the hadith, on the authority of who should I go to hadith? Why? Who said we should go to the hadith? The Prophet? Athi'u Allah wa athi'u Rasul. Oh, the Prophet said we should take hadith. Where? Where did he say take hadith? Where? Where? To Lee. There's a lot of hadith, empty number of hadith. Sahih hadith. Who made them sahih? Who? ZAKIR? Who? You? Or was it the Prophet? The Prophet made it sahih. He made those garbage books authentic. The Prophet? Afala ta'qilun. Why are these mushriks stressing themselves? I'm giving you food on a silver platter. You said no, you need food from the garbage. God has given you food on a silver platter. You said no, you need food from the garbage. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is ZAKIRNAIK for you. Misquoting verses, lying to you with confidence, and you think these people are guided, and you think these people know Islam. Do you think Islam belongs to them? Just because he's wearing his suit and tie. This is the vice versa of how do you call it? Mufti Menk. You know, Mufti Menk is dressed like an typical Arab, but this guy, you see, he's a mixture of the Western world and you know what I mean. Let me play this video of Adnan Rashid, right? The guy from UK. When I watch his video, I'm laughing. Like I see him as a comedian also. How he says it.
The hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that there will come a time when people will be leaning on cushions. Yeah, they will be leaning on cushions and they will be saying, I do not accept the sunnah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Quran is enough for us.
Look at the stupid statement he's saying. He just said there is a hadith of the Prophet. The Prophet is saying that there will be a time somebody will be leaning on the couch on a cushion and then saying, we only need the Quran, we don't need the sunnah of the Prophet. Now listen, how they twist even the words, their own hadith, they lie about it. Now listen.
Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam foretold. And some of the scholars in India, in the subcontinent at the time, when Abdullah Chakralawi literally would give lectures leaning on a cushion, and he would be saying to people, I don't accept hadith, Quran is enough for us.
Look at these boozers, eh? Well, tell him babashuaib is saying the Quran is enough. But do I have a couch here? Do I have cushion? Do you see cushion here? Do you see couch? No. But this is babashuaib. These boozers, they don't reason at all. Wallahi.
And some ulama pointed out that this is the fulfillment of the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his prophecy. There will be people leaning on cushions and they will be saying, I don't accept hadith, I don't believe in it. The Quran alone is enough for us, which is absurd. Which is absurd. Parts of Quran cannot be comprehended without sunnah, the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, explaining those parts.
Do you see the claims they make? Do you see why I call them mushriks? Listen.
And some ulama pointed out that this is the fulfillment of the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his prophecy. There will be people leaning on cushions and they will be saying, I don't accept hadith, I don't believe in it. The Quran alone is enough for us, which is absurd.
So he says when we say the Quran alone is enough, it's absurd. This is the mushriks. This is what they tell you, right? And that is why they hate us so much. But listen what the statement is going to be.
Which is absurd. Parts of Quran cannot be comprehended without sunnah, the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, explaining those parts.
This is how they confuse you always. They will use the word sunnah, they use the word hadith to keep confusing you. Or they will use the word tafsir to keep confusing you. This is what they always do. Mixing Arabic with English, always. They say part of the Quran cannot be understood without the sunnah. And then sometimes they will say the hadith. Or without, sometimes they will say tafsir. This is how they confuse you. If you don't have knowledge to understand, doesn't mean somebody else doesn't have knowledge. This is their foolishness. Just because you and your mushrik scholars don't know, doesn't mean somebody else doesn't know. What is wrong with these bozos?
I had a very long, interesting discussion in London Speaker's Corner, Hyde Park, with the hadithrejector.
That is one thing about them. They will just say hadith rejector. That's another foolishness from them. The Quran on its own is al-hadith. As a matter of fact, ahsan al-hadith, the best hadith. Quran chapter 39 verse 23. Quran chapter 52 verse 34. God says, فَلْيَأْتُوا بِحَدِيثٍ مِثْلِهِ إِن كَانُوا صَادِقِينَ. Let them bring an hadith or a hadith like it, like what? The Quran, if they should be truthful. Right? So the Quran on its own is al-hadith. If you tell the mushriks the Quran is hadith, they say, no. They start laughing at you. The Quran is not hadith because they don't know the Quran. That's how foolish the garbage books has made them. But they don't see it. So they will go to the extent to call you Quran rejector, even though you just bluntly told the person you are a Muslim. He will tell you, no, you cannot be a Muslim without following the hadith. Where does God say this? Where did God ever say that?
It was like over an hour of discussion with him. And I asked him these simple questions. How do you do this? How do you do that? How do you pray? How do you make ghusl? Why do you make ghusl? I asked him, do you have a wife? Yes, I do have a wife. When you have intimacy with her, do you make ghusl?
Look at the stupid questions. How do you make ghusl? Do you have a wife? If when you make you sleep with her, how do you make ghusl? Look at the stupid questions. So the prophet's mother and father, when they slept with each other, did they have to do ghusl before sleeping with each other? Then if that makes the kid a bad kid, then I don't think the prophet should come from such a family. What do you mean by this nonsense?
After that, and he said, I do. I said, why? The Quran doesn't clarify that. Quran in one verse says, فَاغْتَسِلُوا. In the other verse, the Quran says, فَاطَّهَرُوا. When the Quran talks about ghusl, it says, فَاغْتَسِلُوا, فَاطَّهَرُوا. فَاغْتَسِلُوا means what?
I'm sorry, this guy is boring. Oh my God.